Brazil has produced 3 world champions, all of which have won more than one world championship. Fittipaldi, Piqué, and of course, Ayrton Senna, who when winning his 3rd world championship in 1991 became the youngest ever to do so at the time. Both Pierre Gasly and Carlos Sainz recorded the first ever F1 podium finishes at the 2000 The last time 2 drivers took the first podium finish in the same race was back in 1994 at the German Grand Prix.
All right, hello everyone, welcome back. It's that time of the week. It is time for some more One Hub racing. Today at 7 o'clock, it's time for the P3 tier. We arrive at the Interlagos circuit here in Brazil for the 3rd round of this 8-round championship. And I'm looking forward to this race. As always, I am joined by Toma, and I'm sure you're looking forward to this one too.
Yeah, absolutely. Brazil is one of my favourite tracks to race on when playing the game, and also so I'm expecting a very exciting race, especially since the season is looking so unpredictable with who can win races and who will turn up on top each week.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you there. As I think we saw last time out, M. Pricey, the reserve driver who was driving in the Haas car, was able to win the Austrian Grand Prix. Even after getting himself 3 seconds of time penalties, he was able to pull away in the final 3 laps and pull out that 3-second gap on the drivers behind. But you can see qualifying is now started. We were going to watch Liam 1-3, but he has actually crashed at turn 1. He's lost his front wing. So the next man up is going to be Speed Quinn, who's now coming through the Senna S's and through turn 3. Now let's see how fast they can go in the Ferrari. And you can see now coming into the middle sector, into turn 4, you want to carry lots of speed into here, but also get a nice exit. Use the full width of the track there is very, very important. But we now come to the uphill right-hander of turn 6, 7, and now number 8. But you can see Speed Quinn just goes wide there by the tiniest margin, and that has invalidated their lap time. So that just shows you how brutal the track limits can be at this Brazilian circuit. So they're going to have to come around possibly into the pit lane to get a new set of tyres. You can see Neon is now coming through turn 10 and about to go into the final sector of the lap. You can see a snap of oversteer coming into turn 11 there. But we now come into the final turns of turn 12 and 13. But you can see he gets up on the curb of turn 12, and that has caused his car to spin. And that is going to be the end of his lap time. Possibly going to have to come into the pit lane to recharge the ERS and for a fresh set of soft compound tyres. You can see Gabri currently on a lap. Gazaman sets a 108.492, the first lap time of the session. Well, at least the first valid lap time of the session. You can see Hooky there has actually retired from the race. I'm not sure what's happened there, as it looks like he was in the pit lane when it happened. So I'm not sure what happened there, but he is out of this session. Gabri and Cynex, the 2 Williams drivers coming across the line, they get into the 109s with a 109 flat for Gabri and a 109.1 for Cynex. All's in P4 there with a 109.6. But we're seeing a bit of a trend here with Gazaman. Very strong in the qualifying, usually up there in the battle for pole position. He's got great 1-lap pace, but then he just cannot seem to get it together in the race. He's definitely been up there, in the top 5. Got a podium last race, if I'm not mistaken. So he's very strong in the quality, but he just needs to get it together in that race. And do you think maybe that's something we could see today? As you can see, 6/10 ahead of Gabri for provisional pole. So he's got the qualifying down, but how do you think he could possibly do in the race?
Similarly to last race in Austria, Brazil is a very short track and it's a very quick track. So maybe that qualifying pace can translate into a lot of race pace as well. So I think Gazaman will be hoping to bring a lot of his qualifying pace into his race.
Yeah, and that's what every driver usually hopes for. But so far we only have 6 drivers to set lap time. And we are about 5.5 minutes into the session. So quite some time has passed, and we still have quite a few drivers yet to set lap times. So they really need to start getting those laps in to get the banker times in, to make sure if they maybe don't get that full lap together at the very end of the session, at least they have a bit of a fail-safe to fall back on. But yeah, just 6 drivers. You can see Kong Hoffner is quite down there. He's P6 with a 109.7. I'm not sure if that is actually a representative lap time, but I think we usually see him struggle that little bit in the qualifying sessions. I think he's definitely much faster in race conditions, very consistent, doesn't get too many penalties, although he is known to get a 3-second time penalty or 2. But yeah, he is definitely much stronger in the race, so a bit of an opposite to Gazman, you'd have to say. But we're going to try and find someone who's currently on a lap. Looks like IRL Neon has just crossed the line to start what will hopefully be his first valid lap time of the session. You can see coming into the Senna S's there, a bit wide going into turn 1, just couldn't carry the speed that he wanted to, but gets a decent exit out of turn 3 on this long DRS straight on the run down to turn 4. The exit is so important here, and you can see that's a good exit from him, just about keeping that inside left front inside the white lines. But you can see the triple right-hander of turn 6, 7 and 8, which then brings us to the steep declines and inclines of turn 9, 10, 11 and 12, as there's a lot of vertical changes around this track. You can see the finish line is a lot higher than, let's say, where we're at right now at turn 11, but he's now coming into the final turn. You can see how quickly the lap time goes by around here. It's just a 109 minute lap time usually, so you can see it's absolutely flown by, and Neon is now getting the shortest run to the line. And what kind of time is it going to be from Neon for his first bad lap? It's a 109.1, which puts him less than a tenth behind his teammate, and actually less than a tenth behind P2, which is ERT Jordan. So you can see from P2 to P7 the gap is just 8/100. So yeah, once again showing in these qualifying sessions, like we usually see, how close it is, especially around the midfield. So yeah, just less than a tenth separating P2 to P7, and the fact that this is such a short track also helps that, since there's not as much time to find, so the lap times are a lot more similar. But you can see people like Assetto, Bear, Aero, Specialist, MFC, Trunders and Lawrence, who actually got a podium last time out, finishing P3, and then Hooky, who obviously retired from the session. I'm not too sure what that was about, but I think there's around 9 minutes and 40 seconds left in the session. Do you think the people who haven't set lap time should have something to worry about with not that much time left in the session?
Maybe because Brazil, we have seen with quite a few drivers so far in this session, it's quite easy to hit a curb, unsettle the car, spin it round in turns 1 and 2, and things like that. So maybe if you can't maybe if drivers aren't able to stick those corners properly, maybe they might have to worry about their qualifying pace. But hopefully they'll be able to stick in a lap, and hopefully it's a good one to get them up the grid.
Yeah, I hope so too. And they still have 9 minutes in the session, which ideally isn't what you want for your banker time, but still plenty of time to get a lap in. It might not be a fast one, but it'll at least be a lap. You can see Synex currently coming through the right-hander of turn 8 and the left of turn 9, and currently P7 in the session, just less than a tenth off of P2, as it now looks like all the way from P2 to P8, as someone sets a 109 flat. Not too sure who that was. I think it might have been Racing Bomber. So that now makes it even tighter at the top of the grid. But you can see Synex improving by 0.4 of a second. He's looking to get into those crucial 108s, which only one driver has done so far, which is Gazaman. But you can see Synex with the shortest run to the line. It's going to be a decent time, but what kind of time exactly? It's a 108.5, 8/1000ths off of Gazaman. So after a disappointing performance last time out from Synex, finishing in the lower half of the grid in qualifying and the race, he's doing a lot better for himself so far in the session. Very close to that pole position time. And his teammate Gabri, who's had a spin there at the Senna S's, but that's on a cooldown lap. So Gabri right behind him, just 3.5 tenths behind and about 4 tenths off of pole position. So the Williams pairing, they've definitely shown a lot of promise in this season so far. Obviously, in round 1, both getting disqualified. Gabri was even on the podium with Cynex in P4 or 5, if I'm not mistaken. So they had a great performance there, but they did get disqualified for not obliging the or following the 2-stop rule that One Hub Racing has. So they got disqualified there. Then Cynex and Gabri, I think, both had a bit of a disappointing race last time out at Austria. But now they've got the pace, they know the strategy, and they'll be looking to be pushing to the absolute max here at Brazil. It's only an 8-round season, so they really need to score points as quickly as possible. Now you can see Jordan in the Mercedes goes P3 with a 108.6, so currently 4 drivers in the 108. Racing Bomber, though, who's shown great potential in this P3 tier as a reserve as well. He's shown amazing pace, and he's currently about to finish his 2nd lap time of the session. And let's see how fast this is compared to the rest of the grid. As he comes across the line, it is going to be a 108.5, and that's now 3 drivers, 4 drivers even, once again separated by just about a tenth from P1 to P4. And Speed Quinn actually goes P3 with a 108.5. So you can see quite a few people still haven't set their lap times, and it's the same 4 people who didn't have their lap times about 4 minutes ago. So I think they should definitely be getting worried. But so far in this qualifying session, quite a few people have set a lap time, and I think a lot of the main pole position contenders have set their lap times, apart from possibly Lawrence D. Who do you think could be a shout for pole position, or possibly even the front row at this Brazilian Grand Prix?
I think I'm gonna have to go with one of the Williams drivers, because they've always shown really high pace throughout this season so far. So I'd probably, if I had to guess one of them, probably Cynex. He seems to be like only 8 thousandths behind Gazman. He seems that he could improve also. So I'm gonna predict Cynex for the pole.
And I think that's definitely a good prediction, but for me it's got to be Gazaman. He's always strong in qualifying, super speedy in that Red Bull. So far has that provisional pole position, and he's going for a 2nd run on old soft compound tyres, so that might not work out for him. But you can see riding on board with ERT Thomas, it looks like he was a 10th up coming out of the first sector, but coming out of the middle sector he is 8 100ths down after a snap of oversteer coming out of turn 9. So he is going to return himself to the pit lane and get himself ready for one final lap time in this session. You can see a lot of people are in the pit lane, apart from the people who still haven't set a lap. Kong Hoffner, one of the people who's currently out on a lap, because he seems to be struggling in this qualifying session, as he usually does. He's only set 1 time, and that was his banker time. You can see coming into that last turn 8 on entry, he was actually wide, manages to keep the lap valid, so he's going to continue on, but he's 8 100ths down coming out of the first sector. So this does not look like it's going to be a good qualifying session. Evo Dragon, though, who's been a little inconsistent this season, he's been up there, and he's also been down towards the bottom half, but today it looks like one of his up days, because he has set a 108.4 and goes 12 1,000ths faster than Gazman, so it's very, very close at the front. Kong Hoffner manages to improve by 9/10 of a second, which does put him P8, but I think that might be his final lap time of the session, so it's not the best lap from him, and we could see him starting possibly outside of the top 10 if he doesn't get another lap time in, which he definitely could. But he'd have to be pushing quite hard to get that lap time in. You can see Jordan now starting his lap time for Mercedes. Just came through the Senna S's there. Had a very nice line through turn 2, which gave him a great run going into turn 3. You can see he's half a tenth up coming out of the first 3 turns into turn 4 there. Not the best exit out of there. Really compromised his exit there with his entry. But we now come up the hill into turn 6, 7. And 8, and let's see how fast he can take these. You can see hitting that apex quite nicely, and then once again you can see going a little bit wide there into turn 9, but that's to get a bit of a slingshot exit and give you that run coming into turn 10. Once again, you need a nice exit out of here to carry the speed and the momentum coming into turn 11. This is the point of the track where the tyres start to overheat just that little bit, especially the soft compound tyres in qualifying. 3/10 up on his time. He's looking good so far and could possibly be challenging for pole position here. We'll have to see as he takes the shortest run to the line. It is going to be a 108.3, which puts him on provisional pole position by just about over a tenth over Evil Dragon. So that's a great time from ERT Jordan to pull out of the bag. And well, now that some other drivers have set quite fast lap times, do you think Cynex could still be on for pole position in this session?
I believe so. He's just about to start his last lap of the session now, most likely. And just have to see how he pulls out. He just needs to make sure he improves on his time to get anywhere near even the front row.
Yeah, definitely, because it is so close to the top. Like we said many times before, if he improves by just over a tenth of a second, he could be going all the way from P4 to pole position. But you can see cars coming out of the pit lane there. That's MFC Trunders that just came out of the pit lane there, but thankfully not getting in Cynex's way. He's actually a tenth up, over a tenth up, coming out of the first sector, which is only 3 turns. So he's found a lot of time in the first 3 turns. How much more time can he find in the final 10 turns? We'll have to see. As you can see, he's coming through turn 9 now. There's a car up ahead of him. Hopefully he doesn't get any dirty air off of the Red Bull of, I think that's Alls in the Red Bull there, as Gadaman is behind Cynex. You can see Cynex coming into turn 11 now and up the hill into turn 12. He's up half a tenth up, coming out of the middle sector. You can see he's lost a bit of time going through the middle sector, and then that's some wheel spin there coming out of turn 12, so that will lose him a little bit of time. But across the line, what time will it be? You can see he's actually cut the turn there. It would have been a 108.5, which would not have been an improvement, but he actually cut the track at the final second, so it doesn't matter anyways. Gazaman takes provisional pole position with a 108.2, improving by 0.3 of a second. That's a big improvement for Gazaman, or 0.2 of a second, I should say. It doesn't look like either of the Mercedes are on a lap time. Evil Dragon now crossing the lap time. Perfectly timed lap. With 20 seconds left to go in the session, you will be taking this lap when the track is most rubbered in. You can see not taking a lot of curb there into turn 2 to possibly give him a little bit of a better exit coming into turn 3 out of the first sector. He is going to be half a tenth up on his time. He needs to find more improvement in this middle section. You can see carrying a lot of speed there into turn 4. Took a very nice line going into there. We're now going up the hill into turn 6 and 7, hitting that apex, hitting the second. Can he hit the third right-hander in a row? Yes, he can, and he cuts that perfectly. Doesn't invalidate his lap time with that. This is looking like a good time so far from Evil Dragon. That's a Mercedes that's gone off there, along with a Red Bull, both in the grass. Doesn't hit that apex there of turn 10, but it gives him a nice flowing line for this turn 11. Coming out of the middle sector, he's over 0.2 up in his time, 2.5 tenths. This could be the pole position lap from the AlphaTauri driver of Evil Dragon. We just have one final turn to go, and that was it. Turn 13. So across the line, what time will it be from Evil Dragon? This could be pole position, and it is. It's a 108 flat from Evil Dragon, 2 tenths faster than Gazaman, and secures himself pole position for this Brazilian Grand Prix. It's a great lap from him, with the only person that could possibly beat that being Speed Quinn, but they are down by 4 tenths coming out of the middle sector. So Evil Dragon in the AlphaTauri, out of what seemed like nowhere after the first 8 minutes of the session, manages to snatch that pole position, and not just snatch it, he takes it by 2.5 tenths of a second. What do you think of that performance?
That was an absolutely incredible lap from Evil Dragon, like you said, seemingly out of nowhere. That qualifying session was extremely interesting because we have so many drivers fighting and getting into that low 108, the low 108 timing. Fortunately, I was incorrect with my prediction of Cynex. He's ended up in P6. But yeah, Evil Dragon with an absolutely amazing lap.
and I definitely have to agree with you there, as I usually do. And you can see that's 1.5 tenths, sorry, not 2 tenths, 1.5 tenths ahead of Ganzelman, who I thought was going to get pole position, as he's usually quite strong in these qualifying sessions. But maybe starting on this front row of the grid and having that inside line here at Brazil, I'm fairly sure anyone with an even grid slot will be starting on the inside line for turn 1, so maybe he could look for that move going into turn 1 if he gets the exit that he needs off of the start. But only time will tell how it goes. There is no formation lap, as it usually works here in One Hub Racing. So actually, before we start this race, I'd like to mention one of One Hub Racing's many sponsors. It's Next Level Racing. They provide some great sim racing gear like cockpits, especially cockpits. They make some great cockpits there, and play seats too. And they also provide prizes for the league which drivers can win. So they do a lot for One Hub Racing. So make sure to go check them out. I'm very sure their link is in the description. But we now have 10 seconds until the lights turn on. So the drivers are adjusting their strategies, fine-tuning their setups, and getting ready for this cloudy Brazilian Grand Prix with a chance of rain. But we'll have to see. As you can see now, the 5 red lights are coming on. We have the 5 red lights. They're gone and we're away. What kind of start is it for our pole man, Evil Dragon? And it looks like a decent one up against Gazaman. He tries to cover him up going into turn 1, but Gazaman has the inside line coming into turn 1. Now the outside for turn 2, into turn 3 now, the inside once again. But it looks like Evil Dragon got a great exit out of turn 2. He's going to have that outside line for turn 3, turn 4, but he covers him off, goes to the inside, defends P1 for now, and maintains that P1 coming out of the first sector. So Evil Dragon maintains P1 on the first lap so far, but Gazman is right behind him, just 3 tenths behind. Lawrence D in P3. So it's a good start from him. He's able to move up a position, as it looks like Jordan had a very bad start there, along with ERT Thomas falling all the way from P5 to P11, and Jordan falling from P3 to P6. Sinex with a good start, along with Liam 1-3, both moving up 2 positions from their original starting spots of P6 and 7. So they're doing quite nicely for themselves so far on this race start. You can see Sinex really closing onto the back of Lawrence D. Could be looking for a move once the DRS is enabled, which will definitely help him out. Lawrence D 7 tenths behind the top 2, so might look to struggle to keep in that DRS range for lap 3 when it is actually enabled. But yeah, you can see there it's not been a particularly great start for anyone, as the person who's moved up the most positions is Aero Specialist. He's moved up 3 positions from his original starting position of P16. You can see Liam 1-3 has actually gone out of that 1 second gap. He's on the teetering edge of that 1 second gap to Sinex ahead of him, so he needs to push nice and hard to catch up to that top 4 train, and ERT Jordan will make sure that he does. He's putting him under a lot of pressure on those soft compound tires, and so yeah, it's been a good start for Sinex, Liam 1-3, Lawrence, all moving up positions and getting themselves into decent spots. But I think someone who's in a great position right now, and that's actually a spin there. Sorry, I missed that. That's a spin from Racing Bomber. Yellow flag in the middle sector, and Racing Bomber, who's shown great pace in this P3 tier, is now down in P16 after a spin on softs. The Salty Bear also having a spin coming out of turn 11. The tire temperatures are absolutely brutal on that exit, and Gazaman now looks to the outside after those drivers spinning in the middle and final sector, but Evil Dragon covering that off quite nicely. Gazaman tried to go for the switchback. It didn't work out for him, or will it? Has he got that better exit out of turn 3? It doesn't look like he tries to use the ERS to try and pull alongside, and he looks to it, but he's never going to send it from that far back. So Evil Dragon maintains P1 for now, but maybe that we have a little downtime, we'd like to talk about the strategy. You can see a lot of drivers on the soft compound tires, although it does look like a bit of an even split with Liam 1-3, the leading medium compound driver. Do you think he could be a good shout in this race with that alternate strategy?
Possibly, because there's only about half a second difference between the softs and the mediums, and obviously with the mandatory 2-stop rule, most likely drivers will be doing 2 soft stints and then 1 medium stint. So most soft drivers will most of the soft drivers will end up going onto the mediums, and then the medium drivers can just go onto softs till the end of the race. As we see, Neon has retired, and we now have a full course safety car. I'll try and find out on board with Salty Bear, see what's happened to Neon.
So that was a lot going on there. Sorry, while you were talking about the strategy, which would definitely be an interesting one, possibly medium soft, which I think would definitely be the fastest strategy. But as all that was happening, Gazaman was able to overtake Evil Dragon for the lead of the race as soon as the safety car came out. So he manages to grab that P1 for the safety car restart. I think a lot of people are going to be taking this opportunity to box. Like you see, Aero Specialist, Trunders, Hooky, Racing Bomber Jordan, and a Salty Bear all coming into the pit lane for some fresh mediums and some going to the hard tires. But you can see it was ERT Jordan who actually had a spin in the middle sector. That's why he's all the way down in P15, along with a lot of other people who took this opportunity to box for fresh tyres. So Jordan has thrown away his good position after what I can only assume was his tyres overheating. The tyre temperatures are absolutely brutal at this track, especially with those soft compound tyres just not able to take the temperature that the drivers are putting into them. But you can see, I assume pretty much everyone is going to come into the pit lane. Since we have this two-stop rule, most people will be taking this chance to pit, although it looks like Liam 1-3 on the medium compound tyres is opting to stay out on those mediums, and you can only assume that's because he wants to stretch them to a double soft stint, which is definitely the right strategy, but it's just a shame because he won't be able to get that free pit stop. Although I think, like we've seen many times before, there's definitely a high chance of getting another safety car in this race, something that really helped out Kong Hoffner, who played the strategy perfectly in Miami for the opening round, won that race. Sadly, didn't get the performance that he wanted in round 2, which was at Austria last week. But Liam 1-3 will be leading with Gazaman just about gaining that position off of Evil Dragon before the safety car came out. He'll be in P2, but he'll have the fresh hard compound tyres, and he'll also have some fresh mediums in the bank, along with everyone who started on the softs. They'll have some fresh mediums still, so you can imagine they'll be going hards and then mediums until the end, unless, of course, some safety cars spice some things up. But while we have this safety car downtime, I'd like to mention another one of One Hub Racing sponsors, and that's Pure Sim Gear, who make some great racing gloves and give you that real feel of a racing driver. They also provide prizes for One Hub Racing as well, so drivers can win a pair of gloves if they have the most combined fastest laps and pole positions. So definitely go check them out. Link in the description. But right now at this phase of the race, there's a lot of people who went fresh hards, and there's a lot of people who went fresh mediums, and then there's Liam 1-3 on his old mediums. But who do you think is in the best position now in this race?
Possibly, I do think Gazman at the moment, Gazman and Evil Dragon. One thing I have noticed about the 3 rounds we've had so far and the pre-season, people have decided to opt in for the hard tyres instead of going to mediums in these kind of situations. I don't know if that may be because on this game the hards just seem to warm up a bit faster, and when they're fully warmed up, their pace is just better, and obviously they'll last longer than the mediums. That's just something I have noticed over the course of the season so far. And the drivers who have all gone to the hard tyres will most likely be stretching these out to go onto the softs for the very end, providing there's no safety car. Because Brazil is a track that usually can be one-stopped. So like a soft hard or a hard soft. So I think that's what they're going for, and this safety car is giving them all a free pit stop. I am interested to see how Liam 1-3 copes with having to make 2 stops. I think he might be hoping for another safety car down the line and try and get the most out of those mediums while he can.
Yeah, he'll really need to, as the guys on hards behind. He'll have that slight advantage for a couple of laps, but then it's going to diminish quite quickly. You can see the safety car is in this lap. And yeah, I think going to those hard tires once the safety car comes out, especially at this early stage, is very beneficial because it really opens up the strategies. You can go mediums to the end. If there's another safety car, you can stretch them to the soft tires. And the hards are great strategy-wise, but pace-wise, well, for me at least, I seem to struggle a lot, along with quite a few other drivers. But you can see Liam 1-3 has gotten underway for the safety car restart. And Gazaman already under pressure from Evil Dragon behind, who looks to the outside line, but that's because Gazaman is going down the inside into turn 1. That's a 3-wide moment. Gazaman has spun. Liam 1-3 has been collected in that collision, that 3-wide moment, and so that looks like Liam 1-3 and Gazaman are now at the back of the grid. So that Liam 1-3 with that strategy, it's not going to work out for him. He's actually left this session. And I think that might have been a bit of a rage quit, which is fair enough. I'd definitely be angry in a situation like that because obviously Gazaman was looking to the inside, but Liam 1-3 was determined to defend that inside line. And then he also had pressure from Evil Dragon from the outside, and 3 wide into the Sen S's is never going to work. So someone had to back out, and just nobody did. And that is why we have Gazaman and Liam 1-3 in P15 and 16. But Evil Dragon is now in the back of the lead, back to the lead of this race. After starting pole position and losing that lead, he's now back in P1 for AlphaTauri with Lawrence D in P2. He's had some good momentum recently. Been finishing in the top 5 every race so far, I think, and got a podium last time out at Austria. You can see Sinex, though, is trying to carry his momentum as well because he's looking to the outside. That move is not going to work for him, so he tries to go for the switchback coming out of turn 3 using the slipstream of Lawrence ahead of him. But it's not looking like it's going to work out coming into turn 4. That might have been a spin there for the Red Bull of Alls. So Red Bull not having the best of days down in P14 and 16, and both on the hard compound of tyres. But yeah, I think Evil Dragon, and we could see Evil Dragon and Lawrence battling out for this race win, as I think they definitely be on the better strategy on those hard tyres, although they're going to lose a bit of time to the drivers behind, especially the 2 Williams on the medium compound of tyres. So they're going to have a big advantage at this stage, and you can see it because Sinex is pressuring Lawrence all over. He's looking for a way past at all times, and Lawrence has almost lost the DRS to Evil Dragon there in the middle sector, but was able to gain it back in that final sector there. That's a spin for MFC Trunders. Speed Quinn also had a spin as well, and it now looks like Sinex looking to the inside again. He's too far back for that move though. So Speed Quinn and MFC Trunders, Liam 1-3 and Alls and Gazaman now all at the back of the grid, but Racing Bomber, Jordan, Speed Quinn and Aero Specialist all coming into pit lane. You can see Speed Quinn and Jordan were side by side going into the fast lane. But you can see they all come into the pit lane. That's a front wing change for ERT Jordan. Speed Quinn, Aero Specialist and Racing Bomber double stacking, but I think everyone is getting a wing change, so that must have been a big 4-car pile-up there between them. So that now puts them all the way at the back of the grid once again. Although Racing Bomber in the best position on those hards, he'll definitely be able to take those to the end. That's a spin there from a Salty Bear. So I was just scrolling through the drivers. A Salty Bear coming out of turn 7, and his tyres were cooked, and he just spun the rears too much, and that's caused him to have a spin there and drops him down to P9 in this race. With Gazaman already back up to P8 after being at the back of the grid about a lap ago. But right now at this stage of the race, there are a lot of split strategies all the way up and down the field. And is there anyone who really stands out to you as having a good strategy at this stage?
I think I would have to go with maybe drivers like Lawrence and Evil Dragon, Konghoff. The drivers who are on the hards at the moment, they're clearly on track to, like I said earlier, stretch onto the softs, and providing there's no safety cars, they can easily do that, and they will have a big advantage at the very end towards the medium drivers who might either have to go to another set of mediums or even the hards, depending on how long those mediums go. So we'll just have to see how it goes, but I do think the drivers on the hard tyres are in the better position at the moment.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you there. So people in back a little bit towards the back of the grid, like MFC Trunders, a Salty Bear, Gazaman even, could make up some positions, especially on the medium runners of Hooky, Sinex and Gabri. But you can see Lawrence D, his red light was flashing. He's struggling to keep Sinex behind, and that's fair enough. Sinex with the mediums, he's got a lot more pace at this stage of the race. With Lawrence D now looking to the inside at turn 1. Racing Bomber has retired from the section in the middle sector. That looks like a spin coming out of turn 7. A Salty Bear, a spin out of turn 11. And that Alpine driver has now retired from the race. That's the second retirement so far. Yeah, that's his race over. That's a shame to see, as he could have been one to watch on those hard tyres. He'd made his 2 stops and he was going to stretch those hards to the end, but it doesn't look like he'll be doing that anymore. So his race is now over on the lap 11 of this Grand Prix. But yeah, there's quite a big battle here going on towards the front of the grid. There's a train from P1 to P6, a Salty Bear coming into the pit lane and retiring from the session. So his race ends on lap 11. But yeah, a train from P1 to P6 with the majority of the drivers being on the hards, apart from the 2 Williams drivers who are both on mediums. So it'll be interesting to see if they can make that strategy work for themselves. But it'll definitely be difficult for them. But at this stage, they definitely have the pace, but it doesn't look like they're making the most of it, because Sinex just has not been able to find a way past Lawrence. In fact, he's almost lost DRS to Lawrence ahead of him. Does he possibly have wing damage? Because at this stage of the race, the mediums should be so much faster than the hards, and you can see he's barely able to keep it within DRS range of the Ferrari ahead of him, with his teammate Gabri putting plenty of pressure on him coming into turn 4. So yeah, I think they're not really getting the most out of those mediums, and that's going to really hurt them towards the end of the race when they're on the possibly slower compound of tyres or more worn compound of tyres, if they really want to try and stretch the mediums to the softs.
Yeah, it does seem like the hards might be coming into a bit more pace right now, that maybe the tyres have finally warmed up like fully about 7 laps in. So maybe all the hard drivers are reaching their full potential with those tyres, and the mediums might just be reaching the part where they start falling off or plateauing a little. So they might starting to stagnate a bit with their pace. I think that's just how it's going at the moment.
Yeah, and I think Thomas shares the same ideas, because he's found a way past Kong Hofner, because he doesn't think Kong Hofner has enough pace. He needs to get back into the DRS of the 2 Williams ahead. You can see for this run down into turn 4, he's just about got himself into that DRS range. So we will have DRS of the top 4. But you can see he's 1.1 seconds behind. He needs to start pushing hard in this middle sector, and Kong Hofner just struggling a lot at this track, just like he did at Austria. Remember, this is a man who absolutely dominated the first round of the season. That is a spin there from Lawrence on the exit of turn 7. He's now side by side with ERT Thomas. He falls from P2 to P5, and this now releases the 2 Williams drivers on the medium tyres to try and attack Evil Dragon ahead of them. But Evil Dragon has now pulled out a 2-second gap because of that spin from Lawrence, so Sinex won't have DRS, and he's quite a bit behind. He's going to be under pressure from Gabri, and this could be perfect for Evil Dragon, because if the 2 Williams drivers begin to battle with each other, it's going to lose them quite a bit of time, and that will just extend the Evil Dragon's gap in the lead. And yeah, I think I definitely have to agree with you with the fact that the hards are now most likely faster than the medium compound of tyres. We could see a little bit of a drop off of pace from the 2 Williams, but yeah, this top 6 train very, very competitive in this tier, and I think the 6 drivers that we usually see battling for the win, apart from maybe Gazaman, Speedquin sometimes up there, Liam 1-3, and ERT Thomas making a surprise appearance in the top 4, and on those hard tyres compared to 2 Williams ahead. So we could be looking for a podium in this Brazilian Grand Prix. We'll have to see how it plays out for him. And while these drivers are all battling away in a DRS train, I'd just like to mention One Hub Racing's sponsor, GamerGoo. As before I say that, ERT Thomas actually coming out of turn 11. He has a spin there, and he's had to reset the track, and he's now down in P7 with the Red Bull of Gazaman behind him, who's been pushing like absolute mad for these past few laps. Gabri now overtakes Sinex and moves himself up into P2 with the two Williams drivers battling away, trying to slingshot each other with the power of the DRS, but it looks like Gazaman's pace is just too strong. He's extended that gap to 3 seconds. Lawrence has lost the DRS to Sinex ahead. Kong Hoffner is now just trying to follow Lawrence through, and Thomas is now all the way down in P8 after being overtaken there by Gazaman. Gazaman having a great recovery so far, made his way from P1 to P16, and he's now back up into P7 and looking to push even more. He's 1.2 seconds behind Hooky, and Hooky is also on the medium, so they're going to be a little slower at this stage of the Grand Prix. But yeah, so it looks like the two Williams drivers are just going to be working together. They've escaped the DRS train, the 5-man DRS train that they were in, although Lawrence is trying to recreate it again with Kong Hoffner himself, but does not look like he will be getting DRS for this pit straight. So Williams drivers showing their pace right now and just slingshotting each other to try and gain on the race leader, although it does not look like they're able to do that. Gazaman finds a way past Hooky, moves himself up into P6 in this Grand Prix. That's a yellow flag in the first sector. That's because MFC Trunders has had a spin on the entry coming into turn 4. That's lost him quite a bit of time, and he's almost a lap down as Evil Dragon is now coming through turn 4, as MFC Trunders is now coming through turn 6. So you can see he's not had the best of races, although we have seen him up there sometimes in the past 2 races. But you can see Lawrence has now gotten back into the DRS of the 2 Williams ahead of him, with Kong Hoffner actually losing the DRS to the 3 drivers ahead. So maybe, hopefully we have a little bit of downtime so I can actually mention that sponsor of One Hub Racings, and that is GamerGoo, who actually provide a very interesting product. They actually give you a bit of a soap or a cream that you put on your hands, and it stops your hands from sweating so they don't get all sticky on your controller or your racing wheel, and possibly lose your grip if you're using a racing wheel. But at this stage of the race, Evil Dragon is 4.2 seconds ahead, as MFC Trunders retired from the session there. Cyanex now overtaking Gabri. There's so much action, I'm hardly catching my breath at this point, but I was going to say Evil Dragon is 4.3 seconds ahead of the drivers behind. He's on the hard tyres, he's on the better strategy, and at this stage of the race, if there's no safety cars, do you think he could be looking to dominate this Brazilian Grand Prix?
Yeah, definitely. Like, everything just seems to be lining up for Evil Dragon at the moment. Like you said, 4 seconds ahead, he's on a better strategy. Both the Williams being on the mediums as well, they're not really trying an alternate strategy, so they both have to pit around the same time, so there's not really one of them doing better than the other. I think they're just trying to hope to keep that the podium finishes for both the drivers to get as most points as they can in the constructors. But it does seem like they are under a lot of pressure from Lawrence at the moment, and also Kong Hoffner closely behind them. So they've got to hope those mediums hold together until they have to pit for probably another set of mediums or stretch them onto softs. And
yeah, I think maybe that soft compound tyre strategy, more to think about it, might not work out for them, because around this Brazilian track, I'm sure you've heard me mention, the soft compound tyres do tend to overheat along with the rest of the tyres, but the softs are the most susceptible to it. So maybe the soft tyres were actually quite slow after the start, and maybe Cynex, Gabri, Evil Dragon, maybe they're looking to stay off of that compound. We could see Cynex and Gabri go to the hard tyres. We could see Evil Dragon and the rest of the hard runners go to the mediums. It'd be interesting to see how the strategy plays out. But currently, we still have a train from P2 to P5, and it looks like Kong Hoffner, Gabri, Cynex and Lawrence all in that train, as ERT Thomas retires from the session after a collision with the SW Hooky, and that has now brought out the full course safety car. So that collision between Thomas and Hooky there, and that was on the exit of turn 5. Thomas out of this session with Hooky just about getting away with it, although not without a time loss.
Hooky has lost his front wing in that collision, so he's going to definitely have to make a pit stop. Maybe going to the hards would work for him to go to the end from there. Just have a look at, see how many stops people have. So far, P1 to P8 have only done one stop, so they all need to make a second stop, which we're expecting. Hooky will be making his second stop from this wing change, also the full safety car. I think a lot of drivers are coming in. I believe like you said, the hard runners will be going to mediums till the end, and the medium runners will be going to the hards till the end, I imagine.
And this has actually really hurt Evil Dragon's strategy, along with the Williams of Gabri, it is Gabri, who's had to double stack behind her teammate Cyanex. So that's really hurt the Williams driver. No one else had to double stack that I'm aware of. I think Speed Quinn hasn't had to double stack. No one else has either. So it's just the Williams drivers who had to double stack, and that is the problem with them being so fast and so close to each other. But this is interesting now. Every driver has made their 2 stops. I'm sure Liam 1-3 will come into pit lane to make his final stop. But every driver has made them stops. Evil Dragon is on the softer compound of tires compared to Cyanex behind. I'm not sure it's the best thing for him, since he has now lost his, 4.5 second lead to Cyanex behind. But he does have the softer compound of tire. He still has the advantage in this Grand Prix, and we still could see him dominate. Kong Hoffner goes onto an old set of medium compound tires. Now, I think they can make it to the end of the race. They will be quite worn towards the end, because they will have 20 laps of wear, if not 21 or 2. So they'll be very worn towards the end. He's going to lose a lot of pace, so he needs to make the most of them while he has them. Gabri on the hards, Lawrence on the mediums. Gazaman, this has really brought him back into the race. He is now in the battle, maybe not for the race win, but possibly a podium in this Grand Prix. Hooky is in P7 on the hards. Speed Quinn had to go on to old hards. Alls on old mediums. Jordan on old hards. Specialist on old hards. And Liam 1-3 has actually left the session after that rage quit from the 3 wide moment in turn 1. So there's only 11 runners in this race. Actually, we've had 6 retirements if you include Liam 1-3, which is definitely a shame to see. But the race goes on as the drivers are just catching up to the safety car. So yeah, Colin Hoffner is definitely in a very difficult position there. He's on the fresher compound, or the softer compound of tires, but he is on the more worn compound of medium tires. So it's going to be a bit more difficult for him to get a podium in this race, but he has got that track position over the drivers behind. He has got that cushion of Gabri behind, who is on the hards, who could possibly hold up the drivers behind. But as we have this safety car and a bit of downtime, I'd like to mention one of One Hub's Racing's partners, and that is ERT, the Elite Racing Team. They're an esports team on the Formula 1 game and Assetto Corsa Competizione, if I'm not mistaken, and they provide trophies for the league. So big shout out to them. Make sure to go check them out. There should be a link to possibly their Twitter in the description. But I think all the drivers have now caught up to the safety car and it will be coming in this lap. So let's see how that works out for the drivers. Evil Dragon in the best position out of everyone, with his closest competitor on the same tyres being Lawrence down in P5, having the fresh medium tyres. But we'll see, when does Evil Dragon pick his point to go for this safety car restart? Is he going to catch out the drivers behind? It looks like it's not been a good restart for Evil Dragon, and could he lose his race lead to Cyanex right behind? He looks to the outside line on his hard compound tyres, and can he hold this coming into turn 1 and 2? It looks like they're leaving each other the space. You can see Cyanex goes a bit deep going into turn 2. They make contact with each other, but it looks like Cyanex will be taking that race lead. Kong Hoffner now under pressure from Gabri behind, who goes down the inside on the hard tyres, and it looks like they make contact, almost spinning Gabri around. Lawrence gets himself a 3-second time penalty, and Gabri very close to the back of Kong Hoffner ahead of him. Evil Dragon all over the back of Cyanex, dives down the inside after what I think was a bit of wheel spin that actually made them go down the inside there by a mistake. but thankfully there's no contact between them. Gabri dives down the inside coming into turn 10, and on the hard tires is able to possibly get past Kong Hoffner, but you can see Kong Hoffner goes deep into turn 11, makes big contact with Gabri. Thankfully Gabri doesn't lose the car from that, although Kong Hoffner almost did, but he does lose 2 positions off that safety car restart. He's down to P5. Gabri outside the DRS range of the 2 drivers ahead. Gazaman up into P4 on the fresh medium compound tyres. Could he get himself back in race win contention after being at the back of the grid towards the start of the race? Lawrence has not had a good restart. He was looking for a podium in this race, and he's now just looking to secure what will possibly be a P8 or a P7 in this race after getting that 3-second time penalty. But Evil Dragon is just 2 tenths behind Cynex now, and he's very, very close coming into this middle sector with Gabri outside of that 1 second range. And that now means, and sorry there, Cynex is defending the outside line, which turns the inside line for turn 9. Evil Dragon, though, with the superior grip, is going to hold that outside turn 9 line and gets himself back up into P1. He now has to push to the absolute limit to try and break this DRS. The hard runner of Cynex behind Gabri in P3 is benefiting off of all this. He's got himself back up into that DRS, which will now be enabled on this very next lap. Gazaman pushing on, making sure he stays within the DRS of Gabri ahead of him, and Cynex is very, very close. You can see Cynex has 0% ERS. We won't be able to make that move. He goes deep into turn 1, compromising his line heavily, and that's allowing Evil Dragon to pull out a bit of a gap now, and Gazaman struggling on those medium compound tires. That could possibly be down to tire temperature, but he just has not got the pace of the hard runners ahead of him, so he's not doing too well for himself in this race. You can see Evil Dragon and Cynex have both pushed their ERS to the absolute limit, with Cynex being on 0% ERS coming into turn 1, so he really needs to conserve that, but he also needs to stay in the DRS of Evil Dragon ahead of him. He's on the teetering edge of that 1 second gap, so he has to use his ERS, but he hasn't got much of it. He's actually going to run out of deployment on the pit straight, but maybe it'll be worth it if he can get into that DRS of Evil Dragon ahead. Gabri is going to be putting him under plenty of pressure, with Gazman also putting Gabri under pressure. You can see coming into turn 12 how close he gets with the superior grip of the medium compound tires, which are still faster at this stage of the race. Does Cynex get the DRS for the split straight? No, he does not. He's under pressure now from Gabri behind. He's run out of deployment on the straight. Does Gabri look to the inside? No, he does not. So Cynex maintaining that P2 position. You can see a little bit of wheel spin, a bit of oversteer. That's big oversteer for Gabri, who might have made contact there with Gazaman. They both keep it on track, but has Gazaman got wing damage from that? We'll have to hope not, but we'll definitely see if there's a deficit in pace coming into turn 4 now. You can see holding that line quite nicely. It does look like he has the downforce going into there, but we'll be able to tell a lot nicer coming into this turn 6 and 7. You can see he's able to carry 6th gear into there. Evil Dragon gets himself a 3-second time penalty, with Cynex 1.6 seconds behind. We have 12 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and Cynex now just has to maintain that 3-second gap to Evil Dragon behind, but he's under pressure from Gazaman behind, just 3 tenths behind on those medium compound tires. He's getting very, very close to Cynex ahead of him, and he's in that DRS. Could he be looking for a move on this pit straight now? He has the power of the DRS. He has 60% ERS. Cynex has run out of deployment. Is Gazaman going to look for this move coming into turn 1? The DRS is wide open. He's under absolutely no pressure from Kong Hoffner as Gabri fell down to P6. Cynex has had to concede that position to Gazaman. Gazaman now pushing on. Can he go from P1 to P16 all the way back to P1? He needs to maintain this 3-second gap ahead of him. The gap currently 2.1 seconds between himself and Evil Dragon. Lawrence just about hanging on to the DRS of Cynex, with Gabri, after having that oversteer coming out of turn 2, all the way down in P6 under no pressure from P7 behind. But these hard tires are definitely going to be a lot faster than Kong Hoffner's old medium compound tires ahead of him, so Gabri is going to be looking for a move quite soon. But I really need to catch my breath here. That was a lot of action in a very short space of time. But right now, after how this is all shaping out, Gazaman P2, Evil Dragon with a 3-second time penalty, who do you think is going to win this race?
with everything that's just happened, the Gazaman seems to be in the best position with Evil Dragon having a penalty, but Gazaman is in danger of falling out of that gap right now. But Gazaman seems to be just pushing as hard as he can to keep within that gap. What all Evil Dragon needs to do is keep his pace consistent and make sure he saves up that ERS, so he has enough for the final push to try if Gazaman does fall out that gap. But at the moment, Gazaman is in the best position to win this race.
Yeah, and you can show he's got the pace because he just set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, but he only gained about 2/10 on Gazaman. So you can see Gazaman is almost matching that pace. He's going at definitely a very similar pace, and he's got a lot more ERS than Evil Dragon. He's on about 20% with Gazaman, sorry, on 40%. So it's very close pace-wise, it's very close ERS-wise, and it's going to be very close all the way to the line. But I think Evil Dragon has just got that slight edge on the current race pace and consistency. Lawrence D has actually got himself all the way back up into P3, but that 3-second time penalty at this stage of the race would drop him all the way back to P6. Gabri needs to try and find a way past Kong Hoffner. And by the way, the current podium runners are Evil Dragon, currently P2 with Gazaman in the net lead, but that might not last for long. He is able to keep that at around 2.6, but it's now gone on to 2.7, 2.8. So I think he might be losing a tenth or two per lap. Cynex is currently P3 and on the podium, so still looking to get that podium. But you can see he's really struggling with the ERS, below 10% ERS, and actually goes wide there at turn 4, but he's not under much pressure from Kong Hoffner behind because he has got very worn medium tyres. The gap to Gazaman and Evil Dragon is now 2.8, 2.9. I don't think Gazaman, at least at this stage of the race, has the pace to keep up with Evil Dragon ahead of him. So he really needs to find something now in these final 9 laps. But yeah, I think strategy is not going to play much of a role here. Cynex will have a little more pace than Lawrence and Kong Hoffner towards the end of the race, but with Cynex now losing the DRS to Lawrence, it won't matter as much. He now just needs to stay within 3 seconds of Lawrence to secure that podium position. Kong Hoffner has lost DRS to Cynex, and this now puts him under pressure from Gabri, who is going to get that move done before the braking zone. But you can see there was actually wheel banging there because there was a lot of indecision between the racing lines that Gabri and Kong Hoffner were taking. So Gabri is now going to push nice and hard to try and catch up to Cynex ahead of her and try and get into that DRS and possibly get a podium. But Kong Hoffner, it looks like he's absolutely sent it around the outside there, gone completely wide, and then blocks Gabri from actually re-overtaking him there. So he's gone off the track, and then Gabri touches the grass while braking, and that spins around, and she's now down in P9 and looking to be overtaken by Alls. Is Hooky going to overtake Gabri too? It looks like he might, but I don't think he will. So Gabri now at the very bottom of the points running positions at P10 for Gabri after what was looking like such a good race. Possibly could have gotten a podium, but now down in P10. That's not been the best from her, you'd have to say. But there's also a battle going on between Speed Quinn, ERT Jordan, and Aero Specialist for P6 as Jordan looks to the inside on the run down into turn 1. But you can see he goes down to 0% ERS. He's completely run out of deploy. This puts him under pressure from the Alpine driver of Aero Specialist, but he still sends it down the inside of Speed Quinn going into turn 1. Jordan gets himself up into P6 after what was a disappointing race start, and he hasn't been anywhere since really. Gazaman is still within that 3-second gap. Cynex just about within that 3-second gap of Lawrence ahead, but it is faltering, and it looks like he doesn't have the pace to keep up with that. Kong Hoffner can't get in the DRS of Cynex ahead. Aero Specialist moves up to P7 after overtaking Speed Quinn, who now has a spin going into turn 6, and you can see he's going to have to try and get himself back onto the track, but he falls all the way down to P11 with Hooky moving himself up into the points and Gabri moving himself up into P9. So yeah, you can see no one's really in DRS right now apart from Aero Specialist and Gabri, who both have the power of the DRS on the drivers ahead of them. But Gazaman keeping good pace here. He's got a 2.4 second gap. It was about 2.8 a couple of laps ago. So do you think he's found that pace to keep up with Evil Dragon now and possibly win this Grand Prix?
I think he could have realised that he might have been losing about a tenth a lap as he was, and I think he's realised he needs to make sure he keeps his pace really consistent and make sure he is not really putting a foot wrong to keep it in that 3 second gap, to keep himself in it. He is still in the danger zone. I think he still has a bit of he has a bit of a margin for error to come here. He only has about half tenth before he falls out of that gap. But luckily he doesn't really have pressure from Lawrence. He's about 2 seconds down, and also Lawrence has a penalty as well. So all Gazaman needs to do is focus on keeping within that 3 seconds.
And he's keeping up a good and consistent pace so far, so he could be looking to do just that. We'll have to see as Evil Dragon is about to cross the line. Once he does, we're going to have about six laps of racing. So that will definitely be interesting. You can see the only 2 people with penalties are the 2 people who are on the podium, but right now it's not currently affecting Lawrence. Lawrence with 3 seconds, but Synex is 4.5 seconds behind. It looks like Aero Specialist and ERT Jordan both overtake Kong Hoffner, with Aero Specialist getting 2 moves for 1. He moves up into P5 with Jordan in P6, but that is because Kong Hoffner has opted to come into the pit lane, and that is because Kong Hoffner is coming onto the soft compound of tyres. I'm not too sure if that's the best strategy, though. He was looking to finish, I'd say, P5, P6 in this race. Maybe P7, I'm not sure. But sorry, while we were watching him take a pit stop, you can see there in the middle of the track on the run down into turn 4, there's been a collision between Gabri and Alls, and that has caused them both to retire from this race. So it's been a disappointing race from what could have been a great result from Gabri. So they are now both out of this race, and that brings us to a grand total of 8 retirements, with possibly more to come. So we only have 9 runners left in this race, so if you do finish the race, you will end up getting points. And this has played out perfectly for Kong Hoffner. He's just gone to the softs, and that is now going to put a lot of pressure on people like Speed Quinn and Hooky, who can see he's gone onto those softs, and they're going to have to make a quick decision. But you can see a lot of people have now opted to go onto the soft compound of tyres. And if you think about it, if Kong Hoffner had held out for 1 more lap, he would not have lost as much time to the drivers ahead of him. But Evil Dragon, Gazaman and Lawrence now come into the pit lane for the soft compound of tyres, with the only man staying out being Synex. Does Hooky or Speed Quinn stay out? I think the answer is going to be no. So yeah, the only man on hard tyres is currently Synex, and he leads this Grand Prix, but he's going to be under absolutely massive pressure from people like Evil Dragon, Gazaman and Lawrence behind. And now the only 2 people with penalties in this race, Evil Dragon and Lawrence, that's going to really cost them in this race. And with the field being bunched up now after the safety car, do you think they'll even get on the podium at this rate?
I'm not entirely sure. A safety car this late in the race, especially with a penalty and everyone going onto softs, can be a huge detriment to them. So hopefully they'll have to put in some mega laps to try and get themselves back into that, back out of that 3 second gap away from Aero Specialist, ERT Jordan, Kong Hoffner, Hooky and Quinn, especially all behind them. So we're just so hopefully they can pull out some pace in these last few laps. They're only going to have about 3 or 4 racing laps, I believe. So they're going to have to pull a second a lap, which at the moment which could be unlikely.
Yeah, it definitely seems like an unrealistic goal, as I think the safety car will be coming in at the end of lap 33, which is just going to give us 3 more laps of racing. And like you said, 1 second per lap, especially on someone like Gazaman, it's going to be extremely difficult for Evil Dragon. But we haven't really seen Aero Specialist or ERT Jordan too much this race, but I think they can keep within that 3 second gap of Lawrence ahead, possibly get a podium in this race. Synex definitely not on the right strategy right now. He's going to be, well, he'll probably be the only person losing a second a lap, as fresh softs versus old hards probably isn't going to work out too well for you. So yeah, I don't think that's the best strategy call there from Sinex, but I guess he wanted to try something different, but I don't know if it's going to work out for him. But just before we get back underway, I'd like to mention one more of OneHub's Racing's partners, and that is SimGrid, who actually power the league. They have their own website where you can find plenty of Formula 1 leagues and Assetto Corsa Competizione leagues. And you can even sign up for OneHub Racing once I think there is mid-season sign-ups, or possibly at the start of season 22. So definitely go check them out. Should be a link in the description, but you can see the safety car will be coming in this lap, if I had to guess. Although Liam 13's Ghost hasn't actually caught up yet. So Liam 13 leaving the session has actually helped out Sinex, because the safety car now stays out an extra lap. There'll only be 2 laps of racing, so maybe Sinex won't lose as many positions, but you can bet he is going to lose plenty of them on the safety car restart. So he lives to fight another lap, but it won't be very good once the safety car is back into the pit lanes. We have Sinex P1 on old hards, who we expect to be falling all the way down to about P7 or 8. We have Evil Dragon in P2, and with 3 seconds of time penalties, it's looking unlikely that he's going to be able to win this race. So we could see him finishing down in possibly P5 or 6 if Aero Specialist Jordan and Kong Hoffner can all keep up with the leading group. We have Gazaman, who's looking to win this Brazilian Grand Prix, with himself having a pretty clear shot. He's got a penalty runner in front of him, and he's got a penalty runner behind, and then he's got Sinex on the old hard tires in P1. Lawrence, with that 3 second time penalty, he's going to be finishing quite close to the back of the grid. Aero Specialist could be looking to finish on the podium in a possible P2 here, if he can stay within 3 seconds of Evil Dragon. ERT Jordan could definitely get that podium too. Kong Hoffner has definitely not had the best race, just like he did in Austria. So I think maybe Miami was one of his better tracks, because he seems to be struggling at these shorter tracks. Hooky in P8 with Speed Quint in P9, and that gives us just 9 runners in this race. But the safety car is now coming in this lap, and we're getting ready for Sinex to get this safety car restart underway. On these old hard compound tires, he's going to need an absolutely mega jump on people like Evil Dragon and Gazaman behind. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not he can get the jump that he needs to maintain this P1 position for the final 2 laps of racing. As we get ready to go underway, you can see he's waiting, and his time is now. It's a good restart up against Evil Dragon as we enter the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. Gazaman on the back of Evil Dragon with Lawrence right behind him. It doesn't look like anyone's looking for a move, although Speed Quinn sends it into turn 1, almost makes 2 moves in 1 turn, making quite a bit of contact there with Kong Hoffner. Thankfully, both cars pointing in the right direction. Lawrence right on the back of Gazaman. But you can see now Sinex securing that good safety car restart. That now means he's probably going to maintain track position for the rest of this lap. And if he absolutely sends the battery on the pit straight, could possibly be looking for a race win. Even on 16 lap old hard tires, he defends the inside line coming into turn 8. He knew the move was coming. This puts Evil Dragon under pressure from Gazaman behind, who tries to go for that switchback, but it doesn't work out. That was a late defense from Sinex there, but he really needs to do this if he wants to win this race. You can see he'll be defending the inside line for almost every turn. Coming into turn 12, defending the inside. Was that the best choice? So it's going to compromise his exit coming out of turn 12 and into turn 13. You can see both of them absolutely spamming the ERS button. They want to gain as much straight line speed. Sinex has maintained the lead coming onto this final lap of the Grand Prix on his old hard compound tires. 70 lap old hards versus 4 lap old softs with only 1 lap of racing under their belt. This is now the run down to turn 4. This is where Evil Dragon has to make the move if he wants to win this race. He's not using any of his overtake, and that could be a blunder in the strategy. Gazaman can't find a way past Evil Dragon. No one making moves into turn 4, and you can see Synex has defended his position so far. Evil Dragon a good run into turn 6 and 7. He looks to the outside. He's not fully alongside. Synex is going to defend the inside line, and it looks like Evil Dragon sends it around the outside coming into turn 8. The inside line for turn 9. You can see Synex squeezing him to the inside. He really wants this race win. Evil Dragon has that outside line for turn 10. Synex going deep. The wheels banging between the two drivers. You can see Synex giving him absolutely no room, but he manages to make it through cleanly. Synex now defending from Gazaman, but he takes too much curb. This puts Gazaman off. Gazaman spins, Aero Specialist spins. Evil Dragon is now about to come across the line, and Synex on 17 lap old hard compound tyres is going to come across the line to win the Brazilian Grand Prix on his very first win of the season, after one of the greatest strategies and boldest strategies that I have ever seen. It's been a great race from the Williams driver, and he has been rewarded. Wow. I am absolutely speechless.
Yeah, that last lap was just exciting from turn 1 to the finish line. Synex made a very interesting decision. I think he was mainly hoping for track position. Keep it. He only had 2 laps to hold it after the safety car. He lost it at the end to Evil Dragon, but Evil Dragon did have the penalty, so he picked up the win in the end. It was a very interesting corner there where Gazaman and I think Aero Specialist spun out at the very end, so I think that might have to come up in the stewards later. But that was just an amazing race. A lot of excitement going on there.
Yeah, and I think this goes Synex completely cut the turn 12 turn, and that really off-put Gazaman's line. So a man who was looking to go all the way from P1 to P16, all the way back to P1, it looks like he's going to be finishing down in P8 for this Grand Prix. So not the result he was hoping for. Evil Dragon, after his penalty is applied, finishes all the way down in P5, but he does get that fastest lap of the Grand Prix with Lawrence finishing P7. Synex is your race winner for Williams, with ERT Jordan doing a bit of a Gazaman. He went from P3 to P6, all the way to the back and back to P2. Kong Hofner, after all of that, he was struggling for pace all weekend, but he manages to get P3 in the end and finishes on the podium with Speed Quinn, just missing out in P4 by 0.5 of a second. So it was very, very close at the top there. And a very enjoyable race indeed. And I hope you all did enjoy that. If I have to give someone a driver of the day, I think it would have to be Synex there, going all the way from P6 on the grid, and ever since then he was battling at the front. He had different strategies to everyone else. He was on the mediums compared to the hards, and then he stayed out on those hards at the end, and yeah, great defense there. He had some dodgy moves there on the last lap, but you can tell how much he wanted that race win. So my question for him would be, what was the strategy there? What was the thought process going into that final lap? But Toma, who would be your driver of the day from that classification?
I think I'm going to have to go for Kong Hofner. Starting in P11, ended up on the podium. Just seemed to have consistent. Like you said, he was struggling in qualifying, but he seemed to pick it up in the race, especially closer to the finish. Seemed to make decent strategy calls underneath safety cars, and just keep himself within a fighting chance. So my question to him would be, what would your thought process be throughout the multiple safety cars we had, and what was your strategy option, knowing that you went for an alternate strategy?
And I think that was probably one of the most I've ever shouted at a commentary there. I was going for about 6 laps straight, but that just shows how exciting it is in this P3 tier. I hope you did enjoy that race. It's around 20 past 8 now, which means in about 10 minutes time, the P1 tier will be racing live on this very channel, so be sure to go check that out. But I hope you did enjoy this race. And I hope to see you all next week at the same time, Friday at 7 o'clock BST.
Oh.
And yeah, go on.
Also, if you don't mind me interjecting, I do believe we have one more partner to mention. We do also have Vespertine to mention, who create merch for One Hub Racing and ERT as well. Just do all sorts of clothing items, hoodies, t-shirts. I think also like water bottles are coming, hats, caps, all sorts, and I would highly recommend checking them out.
Yeah, and I almost forgot after all of that action dazzling my brain. But yeah, be sure to check them out. Link in the description. I hope you enjoyed that Brazilian Grand Prix. And well, if round 4 is anything like round 3, you can bet it is going to be just as exciting as it usually is here in the P3 tier, with safety car strategy and race pace, interesting qualifying. It's got it all in this tier. So we hope to see you next week for Friday, 7 o'clock BST. This has been More Games and ERT Toma, and we're wishing you a good